Hi-ho, it's me! Did you miss me? I recently got done with plowing through Freedom Planet 2 on release, which if you haven't played that yet, please, please, please do! And now I have Mila to re-obsess over, and with it, Freedom Planet is very much back on my mind. Now, before I say anything about Freedom Planet, look at it. Give it a real good eye taste. Do you see Sonic? Do you see Hedgehog influence all over this game? There you go, sweetheart. There's also other game influences, but if I bring them up, I will be as minimal as I can be. Like now! I have video game depression. I plan on covering the game as a whole, 3 whole playthroughs, 3 slightly different perspectives, and a lot of talking about jank, because despite how polished this game might be, it has some growing pains. Trust me, this game is great. It's absolutely brimming with character and life, but God, sometimes it's rough around the edges. It manages to pave its own path, but like anything anyone makes, the first ride is gonna be rough. Avalis is an interesting world, but unfortunately, war is brewing amongst not only the people, but a collection of friends and one very tyrannical ruler invading the world. Alright, homie, let me just break you in here. I've been with Freedom Planet for a hot minute. It's been mostly off and on with this game. Got it on PC after watching Johnny do his review of the game way back in 2014. Oh, the passage of time is a horrifying concept. I'm in fucking college. I graduated. I was in fucking high school, man. Oh. Existential crisis aside, I remember playing the game for a bit and blowing moderate chunks because Freedom Planet, believe it or not, can be hard. And it feels like an endurance test. And when I was a wee lad starting high school, it absolutely felt like that. I remember not finishing it in one sitting and end up just leaving it around Pangu Lagoon every other time I played it. I miss my grandfather and his old-ass computer. So many memories I had on that thing. God bless his soul. I did love the game, and it's always been in the back of my mind, primarily for the soundtrack and the feelings of fatigue that the game made me think of. It was like that for fucking years, my guy. I've always felt tired considering that these stages felt so long and winding and full of everything happening at once. Look at this shit! Look at it and tell me it doesn't look exhausting on a first play basis. Every time I remembered this game, I remembered one boss theme and just getting tired afterwards. I still love the game, but my silly little monkey brain at the age of 14 wasn't ready for action games. Hell, I didn't even dive back into them until I was like 18, playing Devil May Cry and Yakuza out the goddamn ass. But that's beside the point. Years pass, I get older, I play Freedom Planet 2 after waiting 8 goddamn years for it with Mila in one long-ass stream sitting. Here's the highlight if you want to take a look at and watch my first playthrough of Mila. 12 hours, by the way. Wink, wink. However, after playing 2, like I said just now, and also growing a tolerance for sticking through long-winded games and sessions, I'm here to say, I was a fucking pussy, man. Alrighty, so it's time to talk about this game split between 3 different characters, but in reality it's just one story with mild changes here and there. And I plan on showing and talking about them when it comes up. The story centers around 4 characters and a horde invasion that's about to bring a whole ass war with it. So, funny thing, the game opens up with a cutscene, but let me try and piece it together a bit better. After getting a whole ass ship shot down, a big large alien man yells out into the distance. Thing is, what he did after getting stranded on the planet was make an appearance? And he starts with becoming the head of an entire kingdom.
Prepare the snatcher.
Prince Dale is now without a father and under captivity, and soon to have a warrior made out of him. So, how many tags did Brevin just hit in the span of like 4 to 5 minutes? Ah, there's an. With Big Boy Brev making his appearance and swaggering on the stage like he did, This is when the story starts to truly make its rounds, as the next piece of action starts 3 days later with another ship being shot down over in the Dragon Valley. This catches the eye of Sash Lilac, who wants to go help and see whoever was in that ship, whereas Carol just wants to be a homie and hang out with a friend, man. Carol rides off as Lilac decides to be Mrs. Hero Pants until she sees some choppers heading in the direction of Lilac and that ship, where she decides to be a friend and follow Lilac through the valley. Once the valley hike is complete and a snake mount destroyed, we see a snake and a duck thing? Another abomination. Could you be my kin? Serpentine seeks information out of this abomination, but being as he is, Perfect. Serpentine hits a super against the poor guy when Lilac makes her heroic appearance and makes a completely natural misunderstanding of the situation far above her.
With me.
I'm not gonna let you eat him.
What the?
She runs off with the Abomination Nation, but not before getting blasted and Serpentine feeling like he won, and runs off to do his evil doings with his evil weaponry. Good thing rocks and cover exist, and Carol too. Carol, being a good friend, followed Lilac through the whole way through, and with this meeting, they both meet Torque, the Shelduck. With this meeting and this bout of goodwill, Torque is taken to Lilac's treehouse and wonders why Torque is doing as he is. Since Brevin has been making his rounds, the skies themselves have been very shaky, and the Twin Tails with a tail asks a very good question. Torque tells the dummies that the Kingdom Stone, a worldly artifact used to keep the world powered and energy running, is about to be stolen by Mayor Zhao and his home of homies. Lilac offers to help and send the message and alert the denizens guarding the ancient temple and the relic maze. The two parties split up, the helping hand runs their asses over while Torque decides to gather up all his things. This is where General Gong and Nira make their appearance as absolutely deaf and unhearing.
I have to talk to you. The Kingdom Stone is in danger.
Don't be ridiculous. Nothing gets past my nose.
Will you just listen for a minute?
What is the meaning of this?
We mean no disrespect. We're just
You
trying
heard
to...
what the general said. There's nothing to worry about.
Everything's fine, ain't nobody gonna steal the Kingdom Stone, everything's all Gucci. The Goobers run off, but Lilac feels something is wrong, whereas Carol just wants to go home and hang out with her friend. Before any idea is entertained, a whole-ass truck plows through the entire temple grounds. Chaos ensues, and that means it's time for the duo to make their ways into the relic grounds to stop those truck drivers before they nab any kind of stone. And before and during the trucks plow through the sacred grounds, a young Basset Hound girl is found coming out of the ground with a box containing a secret ingredient for her own potions. Ah, an alchemist. Let me guess, you know how to throw shit far, and oh fuck, wait! This is Mila Bassett. She's very lonely and is a stump for a friend. She wants to find her mom and dad and live a happy life, but unfortunately for her, truck. She catches Lilac as she's barreling down the grounds of her home and wants to make like one of my friends and pet the dragon. Back to Lilac and Carol, they make their way through the maze grounds, and I mean, also survive some of the traps? Like, shit, Jesus, you'd think these soldiers would have been smoked and piped by now, god damn. Speaking of those soldiers, they managed to steal a big old gem artifact, and depending on how you approach this, you could use one of the gems to destroy the truck, or just beat the ever-loving fuck out of the weak spot and just be a gorilla. Regardless of the decision, the soldiers dip and have to return to getting smoked by Little Smoke, and the Goobers all head into the mines of the Relic Maze, and make their respective ways through. Meanwhile, Mila's way behind the two barreling Goobers and has to take a completely different route in order to catch up, considering that truck wrecked the temple grounds, but Mila is able to catch up. Back to the opposing color duo, they get to the Kingdom Stone as it's being stolen by Spade of the Red Scars, also brother of Prince fucking Dale. He plans on stealing so that he can find his brother's killer while also calling out the Color Wheel Buddies. The Red Scars, which are not only a clan signified by their red scarves, are a group of assassins, ninjas, thieves, and other professions of those kind. Lilac and Carol were part of the Red Scarves, but left probably due to not wanting to stain their hands with blood, which can be insinuated.
I'd rather be called a traitor than a murderer. Scarves left us no choice.
I'll get to talking about the Red Scarves and more later, but for right now, Spade is stealing the stone for Zhao and actually getting away with it. Looks like the buddy's got to deal with the defenses of them awakening to kill them. Fending off the mechanical mantis, the whole cave starts to cave in while Lilac and Carol try to escape. Lilac escapes while Carol gets her head caved in, not until Mila manages to make a clean-ass save and get Carol out of the Minecraft cave, and leaves Carol absolutely confused. Damn, bro, did you wake up with that ailment? Me too, not gonna lie. Lilac cries out for Carol, and the two reunite and wonder why Spade is doing as he does. That dashing rogue. Before thoughts can properly form, Carol catches Mila being just like us in the real world. For real, no cap. I'm scared of people. Please, please, please help me. Carol tries to thank Mila and be a good, but unfortunately, she did a bad, and now she's bad. Whereas Lilac is the one to bring Mila out of her shell. Mila, being like my friend from earlier, wants to touch Lilac's hair, which...
Huh?
Yeah? After Lilac's locks were locked in some puppy hand locks, Mila jumps right up to the goobers and wants to be friends with them, and introductions begin. Mila is offered a new place to vibe with, and like any lonely person whose only friend is a fucking stump and a dream of her family, she takes Lilac up on her offer. Carol is... kinda not okay with the news, but just deals with it, keeping her mouth shut. Over in Shang 2, Gong tells the Magister about the situation at hand, and now the two guardsmen of Shang 2 are under suspicion of Lilac and Carol, as it seems they were possibly a part of this. Back with the trifecta of dummies, Torque has gotten everything he needs set up and is bunkering and hunkering down in a tent to do what he needs to. Now that Mila is a part of the gang, the girls decide to spend the night as a normal group of friends would. As sleep takes over Lilac, Carol comes in like my cat at 2 a.m. barreling and screaming her lungs out about Torque.
Torque?
Who happens to be a freaky alien and thus gets violently questioned. This is where the duo learn about Lord Brevin, the man who conquers worlds, kills thousands, and cracks a joke about being a cunt in a metallic shell with a stomp in his step. If he gets his blood-drenched mitts on the Kingdom Stone, his army could very well double and wreak havoc on a numerous number of other worlds. If everything goes to shit, Torque has to destroy the stone, so Brevin can't get what he wants. The final ultimatum for those who need the stone to even live a sustainable life. Lilac being Lilac puts her hero pants back on, Carol joins in on the confidence cry, and Mila
I wanna come too!
breaks into the situation, and Torque is begrudgingly aboard, and the endeavor to stop Brevin begins. Meanwhile, in Shuigong, Prince Dale is getting his brainwash walkthrough any percent with his co-host Brevin on the side done, and the first step to that walkthrough is inciting war with Zhao of Shangmu, who has the Kingdom Stone now in his possession. Back on the Goober side of things, it's morning, and it's time to make their way on over to where the Kingdom Stone happens to be.
Ah, it's good to see you.
With Zhao and Shangmu. Gong wants to meet with Team Sash and Scarves, and with Mila's super dog nose, she's able to help the nerds make their way to the meeting point. And with how everything is starting to go tits up, Gong asks for a neutral party to help them in getting things back in order, considering that if they were to do it themselves, it'd probably incite just a little bit of war. But we do a bit of warring here and there in the world of Avalis, huh? With the power of planes, they're able to make it to the sleepless and glistening city of Shangmu, where the shady and condescending Spade is already setting his boots in. He awaits the actions of his brother as he's already made off with some good-ass cash. He yearns for the answers of who killed his father. Unfortunately, only ones with information and the truth are really believed. Before a scrap could happen, the town is being blasted literally before them, and it's time to make their ways over to Mayor Zhao through his bustling city full of spectacle, wonder, and shopping malls. Before getting into the shopping mall, Lilac is getting called out by Serpentine, who makes his reappearance and proclaims that this isn't about her, and this isn't something she should be in the middle of. Let's be fair, she really shouldn't. But she's a shonen protag, so she's obviously gonna snap back and bite back against the gun-clad snake. A fight only relevant to Lilac happens here. The other two routes just skip this fight and have a mini-boss to fight. Once the ship is destroyed, the Snake Man hunts down the trio inside of the Megaplex shopping mall,
You had it coming, Snake Man!
full of gambling, dance floors,
Yeah!
and pianos with secrets attached to them. Oh my. Once they make their way through the entire mall, Serpentine makes one more attempt on Lilac's life. And this becomes an engagement where all four of Lilac's crew makes an appearance. And it's one of the more standout encounters. Hell, it's even cover art done by Gashi Gashi. Blasters, lasers, missiles, explosions. It is a whole hog chase and a violent attempt on the life of Lilac and her gang. Serpentine doesn't fuck around, and this line really makes this a desperate and explosive fight where everyone has to pitch in, or the world of Avalis will be a fucking wasteland. This fight is slightly different to handle between Carol and Lilac, whereas Mila just does the fight completely different. And it's weird, but it's still got that energy regardless of the route. It's a fight where everyone pitches in for it. Despite their W, there's still an L hovering and looming over them like a warship. Wait, that's what's actually over them. The fuck? As they make off with the stone, Zhao pulls up, backs it in, and asserts his short king status. You go, Zhao. Zhao is a character, and he's great. He's a gremlin in charge of an entire kingdom. He's actually pretty funny, and his jokes don't overstay their welcome. They all get a chuckle out of me, and still do to an extent. His jokes either stem from him being a greedy little shit.
As a token of my appreciation, I offer each of you free reign over Zhao shopping paradise. With this coupon. For 5% off selected brands.
Or just being a little shit in general.
Let me help.
And they're all great. God bless this asshole of a king. While being praised, head patted, and given coupons for select brands. Disclaimer, Shadow Enterprise is not responsible for any broken bones, hearts, souls, wallets, or ideologies while shopping within the shopping paradise. All purchases are final. No refunds, mailbacks, or complaints will be accepted. Re-elect your mayor, Mayor Zhao, today for a brighter and fuller future of Shangmu. But instead, he decides to feed the famished Goober gang in the royal palace for the reward of defeating the mech that Serpentine brought out. After surviving like the group did, and Mila being the best out of the three, Torque asks a really good question.
What's that giant head on the wall over there?
The answer he gets is more rooted in the history of the land, as there was a mighty dragon that sailed across the blue skies, and the people were mesmerized by this very dragon, and thus, Shuigong, Shang-Tu, and Shang-Mu were built in its very honor. Said dragon became the Kingdom Stone, and the world has been living with that dragon ever since. Homie did steal it though for a semi-good reason. Selfish, but semi-good regardless. You see this metropolis, man? It's brimming with energy and life. How else do you fucking think he's gonna run this place? Torque is about to drop some Brevon on him, but we're cutting back to Brev as he's putting down another man, feathered style. Serpentine hits him with the goods, homie wants off of Avalis, and he's gonna make sure that stone fucking fits. Morning comes, and the thoughts of an alliance with Shang-Tu is in order. Zhao shuts that shit down immediately.
Hey, Magister. Sorry about ambushing your soldiers and desecrating your temple. Let's go frolicking in the woods together with our makeup and pretty dresses.
Your Excellency, we're a neutral party. Send us to speak on your behalf.
If he won't listen to the greatest ruler in all of Avalis, why would he listen to a bunch of kids?
Knowing full well what he did. But you know how suckering up to people goes.
Just imagine how much people are going to love you for reuniting the three kingdoms against a common enemy. You'll be a hero.
Me? A war hero? Now that you mention it, I could use a few extra hands.
So you'll help us then?
What the heck? It's worth a shot.
Zhao lends them an airship in order to get over to Shang-Tu, and the gang just simmer down and get to be teenagers.
Out there, just like ours.
We should go on a space adventure someday. Don't you think that'd be so cool?
Are you kidding? It'd be the coolest thing ever.
But Torque gives them a small dose of reality to ground them right back down.
I remember saying almost exactly the same thing.
Did you have a change of heart?
Not really, no. I guess I just wasn't prepared for the sacrifices I had to make. Just gotta keep moving forward with the mission, I guess. No point in thinking about a past that can't be changed.
And we eventually see what's up with Mila.
How's it going? I'm making a wish. Oh, what kind of wish? Well, I really want to see my mommy and daddy again. Sounds like a good thing to wish for. We're gonna be going inside soon. You wanna come? Okay.
Everyone sleeps, and then they don't, since they're being attacked by Shuigong, and they gotta shut that shit down. They're all attacked by an officer in a chopper, Spade of all people, and finally Prince Dale, who appears and seeks complete and utter surrender. But as they all say,
Not a chance! That's Buster. I can't! I won't!
the ship sinks, and then society. Hey there. Torque, you want to know how I learned how to Dragon Dash? 2005, dork. 2005. They're en route to Shang 2 and pray that everyone will be fine when it comes to talking to the Magister. Back to Mila for a minute, and Lilac decides to just...
Things have been pretty crazy so far, huh?
Yeah.
How long have you been away from your parents?
I'm not sure. It feels like a really long time.
And you've been alone in the woods ever since?
Yeah.
I hope this doesn't sound weird, but that's kind of impressive. I wouldn't survive a day without my treehouse. Hey, when this is all over, how about we have a girls' night out?
You mean a play date?
Something like that. We could try out some dresses, or maybe buy a huge plate of sushi and just pig out.
What about Carol?
Yeah.
Can she come too?
Good luck getting her to put a dress on.
Well, sure. I'd like that.
Great!
The goons arrive at Shang 2, and negotiations start to go well, leading into a bit of a proper conversation, but Mira exists. Lilac tries to clear their names. I said tries, it never said it would work. Well now, it's time to do the time for doing the apparent crimes, and while Carol is being Carol, Mila is doing a dog thing and helps make a plan to help them out. Meanwhile, over in Shuigong, Brevin is now aware of the gang and what they're doing, no doubt after Dale probably ratted them out. The moment they're out of jail is the moment that everything goes to hell. And speaking of jail, a plan was a plan! It didn't have to be good. Lilac cries out so she can actually talk to the Magister and see if she can actually make a change, and at least gets Torque out. She tells Torque that they'll catch up, and you know what? They managed to make it out? This is where the hunt begins from both sides, and where the game starts to absolutely get darker. You've got Brevin's bots raining down upon you, and you've got Nero trying to get you back to the palace, which, fun fact, if you die to her, she actually takes you away. Fun facts aside, they manage to escape, but not before watching as Torque gets stolen by Brevin's troops. Lilac gives chase, but unfortunately, the only thing she gets for giving is a fight with Serpentine again. And it's like the fight back in Shangmu until he brings out the attack plane, with Brevin's gunners coming out. This is another encounter where all three of the trio are in a fight against Serpentine. Mila comes in giving help like she did back in the first fight, and Carol is doing as she usually does, riding in on her bike. The fight was violent. Everyone's keeping their mouths shut when clearing the stage, leading to an air of stress and uncertainty. The three get to a small cave to avoid the raid, and Carol brings up a really good point. And then a fight breaks out between the two, while Mila just cowers in the corner, wanting it to all be over, and everyone to be friends, and make up, and laugh, and live happily. But as stubborn as Lilac is, wanting to be the hero, wanting to be the greater power, and bring justice, Carol just wants to be with her friend. She doesn't want any of this. She just wanted to hang out with Lilac. In a good number of cutscenes, Carol is either against it or is just apathetic to it all. She's along for the ride, but there are some things she just doesn't want to be a part of and get the fuck out of there. The worse the situation gets, the less she wants to be a part of it and go back. Lilac just wants to keep pushing and pushing and doing and doing. They've all been fed and rested, so it's not like they're running ragged, but they've all been through life-threatening moment after life-threatening moment while having a truth that they cannot die with.
I don't want to do the right thing. I just want to spend time with my best friend. If the only way I can do that is by risking my life, maybe we shouldn't be friends anymore.
Carol.
Don't. Just don't. I'm done.
It's okay. I'm going after him. Alone.
Let me come with you.
No. Carol's right. Friends shouldn't let each other get hurt. You should stay behind with her. Mila, stay here.
I won't leave you.
Stay!
Mila catches up with Carol to tell her that she left and isn't really surprised. Now that Lilac is gone, Carol takes Mila over to the trap hideout to do things her way. And that's done by breaking through the hideout and getting to Spade to tell him the truth. After blowing through 100 ninjas for Carol and 20 for Mila and beating Spade's ass. Carol and Mila manage to get Spade's help after making him realize that they're the only leads to his father's killer, Brevin. 15 minutes later, Lilac makes her stand to go get Torque back, without her friends on her side. An irrational, emotional, and stupid choice to make in the heat of the moment. 5 more minutes later, and Carol, along with Mila and Spade, make it to the same place as Lilac, the thermal base. Back to Lilac, busting through the entire base that's full of Brevin's creations and machines, like Syntax, who actually cracks a funny...
Just kidding.
and also tries to crack your flesh open with magma and spikes. This isn't peak resistance, but that time will soon come, and blood will be spilled. Cirque comes into the picture once more and begins to gaslight, gatekeep, and bring boss. She tries to use her invincibility frame, so Brevin held her out on Wake Up. Jesus, Lilac, you could at least let him mash first. Christ! Brevin asks one simple question.
Before you decided to throw your life away and interfere with our mission, you should have asked yourself one very important question. What makes you so special?
Oh, fuck! Torture begins, and before even getting strapped, Brevin cut off some of Lilac's hairs. That's blood. That's flesh! Brevin also repeats a sentiment that I've already stated.
Keep them safe. Every move you've made has put them directly in harm's way. Destroying our property, assisting our sworn enemies, attempting sabotage against our mission, which, by the way, has nothing to do with your world. We are leaving this barbaric planet behind as soon as our ship is repaired.
You forgot the part where you took our kingdom stone, where you ruined years of peace between my people and put thousands in danger.
Lilac is her own worst enemy, despite being in front of the enemy. Brevin is ruining this planet, and plans on ruining thousands of others. But he has a point against Lilac. She's the one putting those she loves and cares about in more danger than Brevin has. If anything, Torque and Lilac are kinda cut from the same cloth. They're good people, willing to do what they think is right, but have ultimately suffered for their actions. Torque lost his crew, and he's been ultimately incredibly cautious and didn't want to drag Lilac and her friends into this entire scuffle. Lilac nearly loses her life and her friends' lives on multiple occasions because of her actions.
That's nice to know, but I was more interested in your resolve. You crack easily, it seems. And this one, I have a funny feeling about you. I'll bet I could hack at your limbs all day and you'd still find a way to bite back.
I'll do more than that, you monster!
When we've lured the rest of your group into our hands, you'll be at the top of our execution list.
Torque is freed.
Lilac scent is this way.
Carol and Mila make their appearance and make very quick amends.
I'm sorry I ran off without you. I'll never do it again.
We gotta leave! Now!
Until Brevin decides to break out some sass.
My actions have hurt people? I had no idea. I'm dreadfully sorry.
Really? He's lying.
They manage to make their escape as well as set off a self-destruction timer to the entire base, dealing some kind of blow to Brevin. Lilac manages to make her way back to Jade Creek, separated and apprehended by Nira, whereas the other three make it back and get spotted by General Gong. And on Carol's side of things, Gong scoops up the gaggle of goons and see if they can talk things out like, normal people. On Lilac's side of things, this is where she meets with the Magister again. Still absolutely fucked, but the Magister...
I'm deeply sorry.
It means that I have been foolish.
finally comes around. With it, Lilac is sat in the healing baths and gets her full coat back along with her twin tails. However, through the actions of Torque, much earlier, the Magister and his guards were able to get the item that he showed appraised, and realized that there was something else like it. thought to be radioactive, and now it's time to leap into Lilac's special stage, Pangu Lagoon.
This is my destiny. There's no turning back.
How fitting that this track begins with this, as it's definitely a place made for her. There are new rings that enhance her boost and now allow her to skyrocket! I haven't been talking much about stages all that often aside from naming them and talking about Shangmu because holy shit, it's Fortune Knight and expression of Zhao and what he does. This is a place not too far from Shang-Tu, and like how I said it was made for Lilac, it's probably not too far from the truth. This used to be a place for the ancient dragons, like the ones that Zhao brought up and was mentioned much earlier. There's these rings that I mentioned earlier, but this place is also fucking wide! Especially inside, and there are literal spots that only someone like Lilac or a dragon in general could get into. Monsters and a whole host of bees have made this place already their home. These are straight up ruins from a different time entirely. Outside, it's pristine and a beautiful landscape. Barely anything that shows that it's been meddled with by anyone of the modern day. Sure, there's like the cracked walls, but that's a sign of time. That's a sign that a lot of time has passed since then. The crystals are still glimmering and shining. Life is still plentiful and beautiful here. There's also PTSD blocks. You know what you play. I know you're out there. Back to the story, Lilac manages to make her way through the ruins and comes face to face with...
This can't be possible!
An actual dragon! Or maybe a very real projection of a dragon? Hell, even after beating its ass, Lilac's as confused as I am. Judging from the way it responds, it's very old, and because you never get its name until another point in time, after Lilac does what any normal and small-brained person would do,
password protected, password protected, password protected, password accepted, follow me.
She gets dragged off to a secluded part of the area and shown a message from a very long-gone dragon, and he's one of the Earth Dragons. As it turns out, the dragons of old were stranded on Avalis, trying to find a means to get back home, but to obviously no avail. However, through staying in Avalis, they've built up the very civilization that stands today, and the very Kingdom Stone is that of the last remnants of the dragons of the past. Prayers of the future fall on somewhat deaf ears as Lilac just looks puzzled by the whole message, but it definitely dawns on why the world is the way it is. Lilac dragged the robot over to the Magister, and...
Something terrible has happened in your absence. Zhao has sent his army to attack Shuigang.
What? But they're innocent!
Not as far as Zhao is concerned. I have sent soldiers of our own to hold them off, but I fear that it will not be for long.
Also, Lilac is given a reason to regroup with Carol and the gang, as Zhao is being Zhao. Magister sends Lilac off with the robot to meet up with her group in the Battle Glacier, and diplomacy is being had.
Seems that we have a common enemy, Zhao.
So let me get this straight. The Magister says that if we join together and fight Mr. Braven, we get half of the Kingdom's stone's energy.
Sounds like a fair offer, does it not?
Are you kidding? My city needs way more than half.
Ha! You just want to hog the last of our reserves.
I know you feel a little jealous, but I can't help if my city is bigger than yours.
And then there was a dragon that set everything right. And then there was a tiny dragon that set things right with her friends.
Where have you been? How did you do that?
I didn't do it. This little fella did.
The rallying cry is had, and there's a small bit of recouping before the charge against Brevin. Brevin only really cares about the main group, and if a charge were to happen, they could be a diversion, and they have proof of being so. There's also a plan to get the stone back that's
Kill the power, get the stone back, right?
You got it.
incredibly simple. Before everything is set in stone and everyone gets ready to make their moves, Lilac and Torque have a bit of a heart-to-heart. Well, as much as these two can have. The charge begins, and now a gameplay shift, which happens regardless of who you're playing. The only difference is either riding the dragon or driving the tank. It's a shmup, before you eventually get to the Battle Glacier, and this is where shit gets wild! If you weren't tired by this point in the game, you might get a little winded here, cause this shit, everything is happening! There's enemies everywhere, ice blocks forming and making platforms, explosion, bosses, big-ass enemies, the whole shebang, and God is it painful! Before you can even get close to Brevin and his base, you gotta go through one of his fighters. That can still kill you after you kill it! This game is horrifyingly active. Please be careful. Once the fighter is cleared, you're getting closer. There's more troops in the background, the area is coated in tech, foot troops, a mini-boss, and Prince Dale for his last fight.
Pitiful mortal.
Your hope ends here, and your meaningless existence with it!
Much like Aguado, he refuses to die! But Spade makes the final save before they can approach the end. Lilac...
I hate to disappoint you, but I'm just passing through. Have fun saving the world.
Look, I'm sorry, okay? I was scared. I didn't know what I was doing.
You still don't.
Great job, sweetheart. Torque tells the kids to split up and just...
Wait, trust me.
But they'll have a harder time catching us if we stick together.
But that's what Brevin's expecting us to do.
Then let me go instead. You're too important to the mission.
I can't lose another crew!
Poor Torque, man. The girls aren't going to let some depression stop themselves from getting killed, so Torque gives them all deactivation cards to release the Kingdom Stone, and this is it. Side note, I just want you guys to listen to the track that's overlaid this entire scene, alright? The electronic disruption, the sirens in the background. This is it. This is the final step. Once you're here, there are very few cutscenes, just raw gameplay where you raid the entire final Dreadnought from stages 1 through 4. Final 1 is the initial charge where the gang run through Brevin and his entire armada, charging through with vigor, valiance, and unyielding virtue. This is where Brevin sends everyone and everything at you. This is one of the most chaotic stages right next to Battle Glacier, and if you don't know where to go, or in my case for my Lilac run, don't remember, you're gonna bite it here and there due to the amount of things on screen coming for your skin. Fun fact, every time you die from finals 1 through 3, you're gonna hear Brevin. Yeah, that. You fight Syntax for the last time, and this is one of the more fucked up encounters depending on who you're playing. Multiple forms, large-ass hitboxes, and a mock speed section with a murder wall stopping you from running all the way back. This is where pattern recognition is going to be needed. Knock out the bot in the light of our Lord and Savior. Pray for this bot, fellow nerds. We lost a fast one today. Final 2 is where you're probably gonna shit your pants a little bit because...
You're forgetting something important. They don't need oxygen.
If you're playing Lilac or Carol, Mila will be the best super dog known to man and provide you shields to keep your oxygen all nice and good. Also, I want to know what you think is more terrifying, this drowning noise or the other famous one. Yes, I refuse to say his name even now! If you're playing Mila, however, you ignore the entire gimmick of the stage. Obviously, since Mila can't just clone herself and save herself, due to this, you could read into it as Lilac and Carol being far ahead enough to where Brevin has to pay attention to them and only them. Or, you know, something later down the line. Regardless of the route, you're fighting a transformed Serpentine in one of the easier fights in the game, as his pattern is easy to get around and get to grips with. Destroy his face and bring him down, and it's onward to Final 3. Final 3 is where it starts getting more violent as Brevin gets his whole ass artillery out in tow. And they're so violent the screen shakes as they fire. This man has been packing horrifying firepower and has been holding it all in until now. It's a good thing Mila is the best super dog known to man. She don't give a fuck. This is also getting close to the engine, considering that there's a whole ass wheel of turbines and grates in the background that you're blazing on by. Once making it through the monsters, soldiers, screen-shaking gunfire, the Kingdom Stone is within sight, and it's time to slam the card in and shut it down. However, Brevin, in Lilac and Carol's playthrough, mind you, has Mila, and a silent exchange is had with it. Brevin escapes, and Mila transforms... This is where Lilac's character and all the consequences of her actions come to bear. This is what her unyielding virtue got her. All the times she went against the grain of fate telling her otherwise, the meddling, and the very people she loved getting into the way of gunfire, the law, and the very embodiment of evil in the entire solar system. For Carol, it's just a tragic fight, just another unfortunate case in which Lilac dragged her into and indirectly forced her to deal with, to either bust her out of her own problems or to ensure the safety of her own friend amidst the chaos that Lilac brought to her. Lilac wants to do the right thing. She wants to be the force of justice despite the world around her doing nothing but fuck around with their thumbs in their asses. She wants to be the fighter for the world, but this just ain't it. Mila has lost control and is fighting her friends against her will, and it's rough. She stays away, she tries to run, and she tries to keep her distance, but the longer the fight goes on and the more she's worn down, she's breaking on the inside, and she's crying, absolutely distraught. Her tears come down as petals. She still wants to be there for her friends, but this ain't how it's gonna be.
Called a traitor than a murderer. Sometimes I feel like you're trying to get us killed.
This isn't your fight.
It's like a rope, too. It sounds like fun. A play date? I really want to see my mommy and daddy again. I won't leave you.
Final 4. This is it. This is the final stop and the last chunk of the Dreadnought before you fight Brevin. If I can briefly speak on music for a moment, this is a menacing and quiet track before the final battle is being held. This dim stage coloring, the lack of any real enemies outside of some wall-mounted turrets and remnants of the beast that Prince Dale rode in on. Every other Dreadnought track was filled with some kind of determination to keep on moving. Even Final 2, with its menacing atmosphere, still had some life to it that kept the trek alive. This is just empty and cold. The stage itself has one final and horrifying gimmick. The ship itself. You need to be careful not to throw yourself into the engine here. Getting beyond the ship's core and reaching Brevin's throne, each character gets told to stand down and cease, give up, and all of them end up just saying, Carol's text box even turns into Brevin's text box. This Wildcat is pissed, and she's ready to actually kill him. Mila's a funny thing, considering that when you play Mila, her route is different as she obviously skips her own fight, and in its place, Torque is tending to Carol as she's got her ass blasted by Brevin. And once she gets to Brevin, it's implied that Lilac fought Brevin and lost. Regardless of the route, Lilac and Carol have to chew through 3 phases: the ship, the mech, and Brevin himself, whereas Mila just has to clip 2 of those things. It's a long fought battle with multiple phases, a lot of attacks to dodge and remember, some being harder than others with certain characters. The ship is pretty much the same as it was back in Battle Glacier with, gunk blasters, I guess? The mech is deceptive, full of projectiles, and it also has a startup animation that can hurt you. Once the mech is destroyed, Lilac stands her ground, straight up pissed for everything that he caused and she suffered. Carol's looking to take the stone back, getting ahead of herself. Mila actually doesn't do this fight. She gets grabbed and saved by a very protective dragon. This is my preferred route, but I know in my heart that it's not canon, but this ending gives Lilac one chance to do the right thing and be the protector her friends need instead of the world at large. She does the right thing for her friends in this final moment. In the canon routes, Lilac and Carol fight Brevin, and this conqueror doesn't fuck around. He's vicious with large-ass hitboxes, a command grab that beats out the Dragon Dash and Lightning Legs, as well as his knife, which does 4 whole-ass pedals worth of damage. This is also probably why Mila was left out of this fight, considering the fight literally begins with him swinging like a predator. If you die in this fight at any point, he will straight up kill you. What else did you expect from him? He's not here to play and let you live after all that you've done. Once you pull through and blow this asshole out, Lilac proceeds to let everything out.
I won't hurt you. Hey, when this is all over, how about we have a girls' night out? It's okay.
Carol just does a whole ass KOF super. After the ship falls apart, the gang meet back at the glacier and await for Mila to...
She's alive! I'm sorry.
You weren't yourself. It's okay. It's okay.
If you won the fight as Mila, Carol gets this.
It's Carol! She's okay! Carol!
Are you okay?
No, I'm dead. Blech.
Yep, she's fine.
Did we win?
Yeah, we did.
Awesome.
Never change, Carol. At first, Lilac bemoans her efforts until Carol tells everyone to look up at the sky. The Kingdom Stone isn't lost. It's now in the very air that they breathe, and the whole world gets to see it. As the world slowly goes back to what it once was, with new allies and bonds forged through the monster that was Brevin in his attack on Avalis, there's still remnants of his actions left with the world, and he himself is nowhere to be found. Not even presumed dead, apparently. But, with the finality of the game comes the departure of Torque, a hug for the spaceman, and a hearty goodbye from the group in tow, watching him fly out of Avalis and into the great unknown. Oh boy! Despite how long it took me to talk about the game and its story, it's a fast-ass game where certain things happen a little too quickly. There is a healthy amount of total whiplash, and sometimes some moments aren't played as well as they should. I literally had to read deeper into certain moments about the game itself to find meaningful substance in a game that only really lasts 3 hours. 9 if you're doing all 3 character stories. And there's a reason why I skipped over Carol and Mila's death.
No! No. You've got to be kidding me. That's it!
It's an alright story with pretty decent writing. It's just that either things were left on the cutting room floor or up to interpretation like with the Red Scars. If you don't do a Carol/Mila playthrough, you'll miss Trap Hideout and miss out on seeing the biker ninjas. Yeah, no, this story fucking sucks. Okay, so if you've been noticing through the story talk, this is a platformer. A fast-paced platform with a penchant for explosions, gunfire, and feathery remains. You've got a game with around 12 stages that not only vary from difficulty, but from gimmick and verticality. Each stage is distinct and carries itself through the landscapes that they make, and they're all relatively long. Each stage could take you around 10 minutes, less or more depending on your skill, character, or even what you're looking to do. If I can get you into my headspace when I was 14, I wasn't used to these kinds of stages, and there's a boss inside each and every one of them. Mini bosses and sequences that just extend the stage. These felt like marathons for someone who wasn't used to this and more used to the ilk of that blue rat, only really taking 3 to 5 minutes per stage. There's a reason why I call this an action platformer. There's shit here to learn, to fight against, and something to survive against. You might not be getting graded, but the timer is the only grade you'll need. Before I talk about the things to survive against, let me bring up the misfortunate misfits. Sash Lilac. She's the big pro tag dragon gal with really consistent means of keeping and gathering speed. Each character is equipped with attacks of some kind, and Lilacs are the most fucked up. She can double jump, which allows her to, become a living, breathing hitbox and float for a few seconds. She can also do it while running if you try to do something akin to a spin dash. There's also Dragon Punch! And unlike a normal DP, it's active on every frame, and it's not invincible on startup. So it's a beautiful lie wrapped in a platformer's frame data. Although, speaking of unnaturally active, the dive kick. Holy shit! Yun and every other fighter wishes they had this bitch. Disgusting and does in bosses like a goddamn dream. If you really wanted to stretch out that damage, you could find the means to really keep Lilac in the air, like kind of starting with a Dragon Punch, going into a dive kick, and then trying to see if you could do a Cyclone, then dive kick again. This game's fucking stupid. She's also got the invincible Dragon Dash, which sends this bitch skyrocketing in 6 directions. You can't go straight up or down, which makes exploration with her very fucky, because you blow it, then you fuck up because she ricochets, and then you have to wait for your meter recharge. Exploration is a sizable part of this game, and each character has something they can bring to the table. Speaking of explorative, Carol T. Slower, more explorative, has a wall jump akin to Mega Man X, and has a bike that can ride up walls. This game is so fucking jank, and you'll experience some of it with her if you're a good gamer and you keep her bike, which she can double jump with, and it's also an active hitbox on every frame. Carol's got a bit of a loose combo system, where you can mash attacks, jump cancel, and even cancel into things like her lightning legs, her air dash, or even her roll. Funny thing about her air dash, if you turn around, you can dash again, so you can straight up just dash like 3 to 5 times before you fall and touch the ground. That means 3 to 5 chances to claw with a Wildcat Claw. Also, Lightning Legs is invincible. The whole thing. So you can do shit like this! This game is fucking jank! Now for the unlockable and best dog, Mila Bassett. Although Mila's rough here. She's got half the health of the other 2 characters, and she wants to play a lot more passively, like a certain Wahoo child. She's got a flutter jump, can pick up items, make a block, throw shit like a petulant child, reflect things. Mila is a character with a bit of a skill floor and skill ceiling, since she's got her own means of attaining and maintaining speed. Block dashing. Lilac can maintain and regain her speed on the drop of a hat. Carol has to maintain her speed through either knowing the stage or taking good care of her bike. Mila has to straight up learn how to use physics to her advantage, to give herself the momentum she needs. Once you do start to get it down, these stages start to turn into something different. You see certain things a bit differently than other characters. Actually, each character has their own ways of exploration and means of finding certain goodies and making their ways around the stage. Some characters straight up have different routes entirely, and they can lead you to, like, hidden little cards that you can find for goodies. Back to Mila, though, because of her kit, you have to approach bosses and the like differently, and have to be a lot more cautious, because some fights are weird with Mila. I might just be scrub quoting, but I'll take that L if I have to. There are also some cut characters down on the cutting room floor with Torque and Spade. Torque can still be played in the beta, mind you. Played akin to a blue bomber, and was meant for being a bit more of a tooled up Mila with a float and ammo types. If anything, those boxes that you find that, come out with like all these gems and shit that aren't the normal ones, those were more than likely meant for Torque. They still give you gems, but those were more likely ammo types that were still left in the game. Spade was actually a thing back when the game was in its demo phases, and when Lilac looked like, yeah, this. Wait, hold up. What did Beta Spade look like? Wow, they really did move away that hard. Good work. Now, bosses. Bosses are a big part of this game, as I keep mentioning and showing, and some are easier than others depending on your character. They can go by a lot fucking faster than others. Mila is a boss killer, but don't count out Lilac and Carol from the conversation. These motherfuckers range from chaotic scrambles of life and death with shit everywhere, or more calmer skirmishes, but the most key thing about these fights is that there's always a pattern. Let's take a look at someone like Spade, for instance. He seems kind of random and whack at first glance, but when you notice that he dashes towards you after the card rain, then shoots cards out, you begin to see openings and exploit him for being him. Serpentine is also like this. Every time he dashes at you, he's looking to be next to you, so if you figure out his dashing patterns, you could skin him real quick. There's also certain firing patterns that you can always pay attention to, like how he'll always shoot twice and then pull out a certain weapon. Brevin's final phase has a whole pattern of slice, mines, grab, gun, slice. He adds one more move later on, but that's something you could still manage to avoid while staying and running around. Now that I brought up patterns, let me bring up difficulty real quick. This game has 4 difficulties: casual, easy, normal, and hard. Casual and easy knock down the damage you take and also allow for passive health regen throughout the entire game. Normal is normal, not much to say there. Hard is where the game gets fucked up. You take more damage, obviously, but the game randomizes boss moves. So patterns are completely out the window and it becomes a fight of life and death in some cases. You have to be careful and learn to respond accordingly. If you struggle with the bosses, do not touch hard, because this mode will fuck you up if you're not prepared. Sure, some of the bosses are easy, but if you try to do Mila hard like I did, you're gonna eat shit. But if you're feeling courageous, stupid, or have a masochism kink, then there you go. You've got your own challenge to go through. Oh, and if you don't care for the story and just want to do some gamering and sneak in a quick session, you've got Classic Mode, which is just the game without the cutscenes. Just go at it and go for it. Remember when I was talking about, like, a singular boss theme way earlier? The memories of the OST sticking in the back of my head for years and years on end? Yeah? This OST is good, and I'm gonna keep remembering it. Freedom Planet, for having tracks like it did back in 2014, was fucking killer. Not only did it have a varied selection of tracks, but its music was like one of the best things about it. Sure, I didn't like some tracks like Dragon Valley or Relic Maze back then, but they've grown on me. They're evident of the beginning of a new adventure in the puzzling depths of the very maze that Shang 2 has, and the best part of the OST is that it's got 2 versions. Once you finish the mini-boss off from the first section, the next half of the stage and the second wind of the track kicks in, and it makes the game feel seamless. It's always moving, and it doesn't stop. Thermal Base gets a lot more mechanical and robotic the further in you've dove into Brevin's base. The sounds of the ocean and technology are always ever present in the background. Jade Creek becomes a lot more amped up. It becomes this mad dash through the now chaotic landscape in order to catch up with Torque, hoping that he's still there, and when the music dies down for the rain to seep in, ooh, that's that good shit. And then the boss track kicks in. This is the peak of the soundtrack in my mind, especially by the way these tracks fucking swell and explode by the second half of the tracks. If you're like me and you've taken it upon yourself to find the deeper implications of some of these tracks, let's look at the unfortunate case of Prince Dale, a possessed prince who lost his father to the clutches of Brevin, still somewhat clinging to his home and who he is at the core. This isn't a fight he would have had otherwise, and it's not right. It's rocking, but this isn't the kind of rocking out that you have against someone like Serpentine, where those feel like desperate scrambles of life and death. This is the fight against a broken man who lost everything and is being pushed to these actions against his will. My favorite boss theme, Neo Chase, is where it's at, and it only makes its appearance in like 2 fights, the Dragon and Mutant Mila. This is my favorite track, not only because it has that riff that makes me blow chunks, but it also has the underlying tones of apprehension, and one of those moments is that given thump. The riff in the explosion itself feels more akin to someone shaking their head to get themselves back into the moment. It's followed by the quiet apprehension of the track, and then once this hits, it's like the moment of, I don't want to do this, but this is how it has to be, type of deals. You live or die. There is no room for uncertainty. Look, man, all I'm saying is this soundtrack slaps. It's been with me for years, and looking into it gave me a lot more appreciation for these tracks. It's just how it goes when you toss yourself into the analysis holes. God, this has been another long one, and you know what? I'm fine with that. I might not have been with this game for as long as some of you possibly have, and I was even apprehensive about it way back when, but now, it's really up there for me. I love this game. I used to get tired from playing this for extended periods, and sure, those feelings are still there. I straight up stopped a Mila recording session because sometimes shit ain't gonna be as smooth as you want it to be. However, I'm far more comfortable to just sit down, grind out the game, and despite how jank it is, I love it how it is. The story could have used more work to explain and show you more of the world and things that surround it, like the chasers and the red scarves, as well as letting those really dark and emotionally implosive moments take more time to settle in. Shit's sudden and it yanks you around, and I can admit, it's definitely a weird way to frame a story and let it breathe. However, if I can still find some semblance of meaning like I did with it, then it's something right, I think. It's flawed, and some could see it as bad storytelling, and I could completely see that and understand why. But for me, shit man, I've already made this video. You can already see where I stand with it. The gameplay is something that takes adjusting to for all 3 characters, but it's still really good. I was thinking after jumping from 2 back to 1, it'd be a really rough transition, and I was sort of wrong. Let that be a compliment to 2 or a shock that 1 isn't as bad as you think it is to go back to. The music is still some of the best I've heard from a platformer in years, and it's absolutely the best part of the game, right next to Mila. Yes, I have a favorite, and I'm biased. Fuck off! Maybe I was a baby to Freedom Planet. Maybe I was a bit too harsh and needed time to settle down and grow up a bit. Time has passed, the winds have carried me to this destination, and here I stand to proclaim my feelings on a game I have a new appreciation for. God bless Avalis, and the sacrifices of the few to bring a story to the masses.